Hey there, this is your tutorial on how to use the Time Trades TradingView Indicator. So this is an indicator that is built into TradingView, and you will receive access to this once Time Trades knows your TradingView username. This is an invite-only script, so I need to grant you access to the script. So if you have not yet provided your TradingView username to the time trade system, then you will need to do that in order to kick off the workflow so that you can get access. After I grant you access, this light bulb indicator will turn on. Actually, no, it's the notifications, it's the bell. So the notifications will turn red. You will get a notification that I have granted you access to the script in here, and then you can start to use it. So how do you use it? We're looking at a blank chart right now, and to find the time trades indicator, you would click up here on the indicators button in the toolbar. And it's down here under invite only scripts, or you can just search for time space trades, and you can see it there. It's a private indicator, but you can see that I've been granted access. YYC trade is me. So click on that, and then you can close the indicators dialog. And the time trades indicator will start to spin up here on the right. And you will eventually see the magic levels and the medium pivots and the small pivots. Now, one question I get quite a bit, especially from new TradingView users, is my chart doesn't look like yours. And 90% of the time, the reason is you don't have scale price chart only on. By default, this scale price chart only is off. The way I get to this menu is I put the mouse over the price axis over here, and then I right click, and then I see this menu. And if scale price chart only is not checked, then this is what it will look like. It will look like a whole lot of lines, okay? So that's not super useful. So to avoid this problem, you need to right click on the price axis and make sure that scale price chart only is checked, and then that solves the problem. Okay, so let's go through the components of the indicator one by one. So I click on the gear icon. I bring up the gear icon simply by mousing over the time trades in the top left, and you can see the different inputs here. So let's just turn all of these off so it's less cluttered. And then we're going to go through these one by one, starting with eclipse season. Okay, so eclipse season is a multi-day period that occurs twice a year, where we typically have at least 2 and sometimes 3 eclipses, either lunar eclipses or solar eclipses. And these are marked in purple. So if we go and zoom out to a daily view, or in this case, this is a 2-day view, you can see the different eclipse seasons are highlighted here in purple. And these are actually really interesting because there's a school of thought that the direction of price coming out of eclipse season is the direction that you need to trade. And we can just put some basic horizontal bars here around eclipse season, bracketing it. And we can see here from the top, we had an eclipse season, and then it bounced around a couple times, and then it finally broke through. And then obviously that was the direction to trade, okay? And we can see the same thing down here in June of 2021, right? Again, we saw price break out above the range during eclipse season, and then boom, pretty clear. That's the direction to trade. So that's one real simple trick in terms of how to use eclipse seasons to establish a directional bias. And we just finished an eclipse season here, so we can do the same trick here to see just wrap this in some horizontal lines and sell the breakdown or buy the breakout. Okay, so that's Eclipse season. Let me just clear all this stuff and we'll go to the next one. Okay, let's look at medium pivots. All right, hit OK. Now, medium pivots occur every few weeks or so. I don't know, it's maybe about every 6 weeks. This one here was April 7th on the 2-day chart. If we go to a daily chart, it'll be a bit more accurate on the date. I think the actual date was more like April 5th. And these are dates that tend to correlate with important pivots in price. So this is best viewed at a daily level. The actual time itself is calculated with hourly accuracy. But you should definitely give it a few days on either side to take effect. This is not something that you should watch your screen and expect an immediate reaction on the minute that it becomes active. So we can see down here that we had a medium pivot just a couple of days ago. So there hasn't really been a reaction yet on that. I believe it will take effect in the next couple of days. And I also believe that this will pivot price upwards. So you can see the track record of medium pivots here. January 24th, pivot low. November 6th, 2020, that was a pivot high, very close to the all-time high. Here's October 11th. Again, a very good pivot low call. So you can scroll back in time and take a look at medium pivots. I have not collected any statistics on these historically, but from visual inspection and from adding this into the machine learning, it definitely has had a positive impact on accuracy. Okay, so let's add small pivots, and we'll keep medium pivots there as well, because I want to show you a little trick with small pivots. Now, small pivots occur more frequently than medium pivots, as you might expect, but these also identify less important tops. So you can see the last three sort of bear market rallies have all been identified by the last three small pivots here. Here's one on April 7th. And probably at a lower time frame that identifies a little bit of a pivot there, but on a daily time frame it doesn't. But what I've found really interesting on small pivots is if we zoom in here, let's take a look at maybe an hourly chart. So if we zoom in to what was happening around that top on April 5th. Okay, so we've got a small pivot here on March 23rd. Okay, so let's just mark that with a line. Okay, and then we've got a medium pivot here on April 5th, and that actually arrived a few hours after there was a major decline started. So that was pretty accurate within a few hours, the actual top. Then if we go over here and look at the other small pivot on April 7th, we can see it's almost exactly at the same price as this first one here. So we've got these two small pivots kind of bracketing a medium pivot. And this gives me a lot of confidence that, this medium pivot is actually a significant turn. And whenever you see this kind of price action where the two small pivots bracket a medium pivot, that looks like a very high probability turning point in the market. So that's something that I've discovered around small pivots. The other thing you can do with small pivots is quite simply just trade them. I mean, they give really, really good signals. Like, just give it a day or two on either side, like this one here hit April 19th. But if you're patient and give yourself time, then you would have caught this sort of two-wave dump that started on April 21st, 2 days later. And same thing here with small pivots. You can see this one on May 5th. Boom, that was a big move. And you can see this most recent one, May 17th, boom, another big move down. And now we just had this medium pivot, which actually this could identify the low right here on, I believe that's Friday, May 20th. Okay, so that's small pivots. Let's take a look at the cheat code. And the cheat code, the way I like to use the cheat code is it tends to identify days where there's a pump and dump type price action. So when we scroll through some examples here, you can see what I mean by that. So here's the most recent cheat code, May 15th. We got a nice pump up into it. And then a day later, or actually 2 days later, we got the dump that follows into May 19th there. So that's a good example. This is an even better example, and actually much more typical of a cheat code day where we get a pump and then an immediate dump. There's no sort of delayed reaction like we got over there. And the next example here, a weak pump, a strong dump on April 21st. Here again, April 7th, weak pump, and then a big drop. So let's go back prior to the last medium pivot. Well, in this case, we have a cheat code on March 9th, strong pump, and it had one false start on the dump before the real dump started again. So that again seemed to be the behavior earlier in March. And again, similar pump and dump type behavior in January. So I encourage you to turn these on and go back and check for yourself and look at the price action. But these are very interesting and what seems to be very repeatable patterns around these purple cheat code lines. Okay, let's turn on Gann Waves. Okay, so Gann Waves turn on 3 lines on the chart. They turn on a blue solid line, a green dashed line, and a yellow solid line. So blue line is the low of the cycle, yellow line is the high of the cycle, and green is in the middle of the cycle. Now, I haven't seen a strong pattern in these that's repeatable and what I would call tradable. I have heard anecdotally that WD Gann would tend to try to enter trades near the bottom of the cycle, so the blue line, and then try to exit trades near the top of the cycle, that's the yellow line. But maybe it depends on the instrument you're trading. I spend most of my time on US tech, and I have not seen a super repeatable pattern on these. I leave them up on my chart because I do find them interesting and useful. So feel free to examine the instruments that you trade to see if there's tradable patterns there. Okay, so next, let's take a look at the intraday timing items. So we've got 3 intraday timing items. These only appear on 30-minute timeframes or less to avoid chart clutter. So let's turn on Lunar Signs. We'll do all 3 of these at once. Lunar Signs, Moon Void, of course, and Lunar Aspects. Okay, so we've turned on Lunar Aspects, and we've turned on all 3 of them. We've turned on Lunar Signs, which are yellow, Moon Void, of course, which is orange, and Lunar Aspects, which are gray. So let's go through these one by one. Lunar Aspects, that identifies when the moon enters a new sign. So that's identified here with a yellow label, so it's clear. And we can see the moon entering Capricorn, and there was a big dump associated with that. Moon entering Aquarius, another dump that was almost completely retraced. And then we can see the various aspects or angles that the moon makes with different planets throughout that time period. And I'm showing the astrological labels here as a shorthand, but if you're not familiar with those, and you can just mouse over the label and it will show a tooltip with what's going on in English. So trine Jupiter is 120 degree or 240 degree angle between the moon and Jupiter. Opposite is 180 degrees. Trine is another 120 or 240. And you can see the different angles here. One of the things that I do that is somewhat unusual is I also include the galactic center. This is abbreviated GC. So we're also tracking conjunctions and oppositions between the moon and the galactic center, which occurs in late Sagittarius. And yeah, so one of the things that I like to do with this is look for patterns in different signs, in the price action in different signs. And there's some good repeatable patterns that you can pick up on. This price action in Capricorn was a pattern that repeated from the previous cycle in the past month. So I'd encourage you to take a look at, when we're coming up to a new sign, I'd encourage you to take a look at what happened the last time the moon was in that sign. And that can help you get a feel for the price action to expect coming up. Of course, nothing ever repeats exactly. So you do have to keep that in mind, but this can definitely help with your timing at a fine grade level. The other thing is that if you want to take the time to study a little bit of astrology, it won't take long to learn the basics about positive and negative planets and positive and negative aspects. And then you'll have access to these here with the aspect labels that appear on the chart. So you can get an understanding of how these may affect your chart. For example, you can see here, we've got moon square Jupiter. So a square is a negative angle, Jupiter being a positive planet. So negative aspect with a positive planet combined with the moon entering Capricorn, and that kicked things off to the downside. So these don't work all the time, but they do work some of the time. What I found is that often some of the planetary cycles do tend to override some of the lunar aspects, but it's still very, very useful to have on your chart. Now, the last thing I want to talk about here is the orange boxes. And the orange boxes are the moon void of course. And what's going on here is that the moon void of course is the time period between the last aspect that the moon makes in a sign, in this case Sagittarius, and the time that the moon enters the next sign. Okay, so here we've got 3 aspects hitting on midnight on May 18th, and then the moon moves into Capricorn. So during this time frame, there's no aspects, and conjunction with the galactic center is not considered an aspect because the galactic center is not a planet, but merely a point in space. So we ignore the galactic center when calculating the moon void of course. And it's just the time between the last major aspect and the moon entering the next sign. So it's kind of just running it down, completing its time period in that sign, in this case, Sagittarius. So the timeframes can vary here for a moon void, of course, and they can be up to 1 day and sometimes even longer. What I found is these very long moon void of course periods are more important than the short ones. This one is probably about medium size, is about 8 hours. But when you get up to like 12, 24-hour void of course, what you want to do is you want to put price bars, horizontal price bars around the price range here, and use these as support and resistance levels. So if we scroll back, let's go back to let's say, where are we? May 9th? Where was May 9th? May 9th had a very wide moon void, of course. So let's take a look at that one as an example. May 24th. May 16th. Okay, here's May 9th. All right, so this void, of course, on May 9th lasted basically the entire trading day. It was from like 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So if we put some horizontal bars around that, these can act as very significant support and resistance levels. So this is especially true when the void, of course, is so wide. Okay, so if we just zoom out here to, let's do like, I don't know, 4-hour chart. Okay, so you can see here, this is the wide void, of course, that was identified on May 9th. And price fell out of there. It fell almost exactly the width of the void, of course. So this range was projected downwards, and that was respected here. And then it came back up into the range. The top of that void, of course, time period acted as strong resistance, and then it fell back down. And now we appear to have stopped falling below the void, of course. So I would look at this lower line as a significant resistance line right now. If price were to climb back above that, that would significantly improve the bullish case going forward. Okay, so that is moon void, of course, lunar signs, lunar aspects. Let's turn on my favorite indicator, which is magic levels. Now, magic levels have proven to be super powerful and super useful. I like them a lot because I use them as support and resistance levels, except they are always there. So when you have a stock making new all-time highs, there are still magic levels above it that kind of magically identify resistance levels, even for stocks making new all-time highs. And you can see here the price action of the NASDAQ futures right around this magic level at 11,700. Very strong support. I don't think we've got a close. We might have got a close like, I don't know, 5 points below it. But you can see all the wicks down here. Like this is a very significant support level. Same thing with this magic level here, 12,225. We got support and then it broke, and then we got another round of support and then it broke again. So these prove to be very interesting time and time again. And there's a lot of interesting behaviors that I document in the user guide about price action around magic levels. So I would encourage you to go and take a look at that, because there's some very, very strong setups that if you know what to look for, you can make some money off of those magic level setups. Okay, so that's it for a tour of the Time Trades TradingView Indicator. I hope you found all of this interesting. Before I go, I just want to point out the fact that all of the colors can be customized here. So these are the default colors. You can reset back to the default colors and the default settings just by clicking reset. And most of the time, I just use the defaults for my use. Sometimes I'll look at Eclipse season, sometimes I'll look at Lunar Aspects. But on the whole, super useful script. I do tend to update it once every week or two, because all of the dates in the future are kind of hard coded into the script. So you will need to get in the habit of updating it every couple of weeks. Otherwise, you won't see any future signals. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You know where to find me. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Telegram, and I'm also on email at support@timetrades.com. Thanks very much for using Time Trades, and we will talk to you soon. Bye now.